Singing something else.
Did you do that because of Thanksgiving and we herded people around? All my grandchildren running out.
In fact, when I first watched this video, I thought about growing up in my family and that the voice of the rancher being my father's voice. And what was interesting, one of the other videos for this company, he's training one of these dogs who's 9 months old at the time. And he's giving him commands, and because the dog is learning, he's running all over the place. He's sniffing things, he's doing things, you can hear him calling his name. Bear, Bear, come here, you, stop, ha, ha. Just crazy, and I had to laugh because I thought, oh my gosh, just had some flashbacks of growing up and hear my father doing the same thing with us. You, get over here, you, what's your name? And expecting us to answer no matter what he called, what name he called out. But the instinct of these border collies really called to me. And if you watch the video carefully, the dogs are at attention and their ears were always poised to the rancher. And they were fixed on those bulls the entire time, except when they looked around, and then you would hear the rancher call their attention back to something. So after watching a few videos, I realized that come away means clockwise, run clockwise, or maybe it's the other way around. And then there's another word that has them go in the opposite direction. Stand means to just be still and just stay where you are. But at every command, the dogs moved or didn't move. And if there was no command, they did nothing. They just stayed where they were, poised on the bulls. What was also interesting to me that here you have a 35, 40-pound animal herding 5 or 6 other animals that on the average can weigh 1,500 to 2,000 pounds or more. And doesn't life sometimes feel like you're herding bucking bulls? And yet, we are born with an instinct for that very job. If you've ever been around a border collie, they will herd whatever is in front of them. If you walk in a room, they'll try to herd you. If there's other animals in the room or something else, they'll herd those. And they just know to herd. That's what they do. They wake up every day and they're looking for something to herd. And in fact, if you don't keep them busy and if you don't train their instincts, they will go crazy with the herding. And sometimes get into other bad behavior, because they're not able to use that instinct that runs through their veins. The instinct. To me, the rancher is spirit, always guiding, always saying what to do. And like the 9-month-old puppy in the other video, I often ran around, even though Spirit's calling me to do something, because I'm so much interested in something else. So I was all over like a 3-year-old, not able to keep focus on the bulls, which were in front of me. And here the rancher is saying, stand, come away, come around, still, push, don't push. And often we check out, even though Spirit is guiding us. And I believe that guidance is coming all day long. And it took a lot of years of training for me, self-training, to always listen for the voice and only move or don't move according to what Spirit was saying. Unlike the rancher, we don't always hear Spirit with these ears. It may be a feeling, a calling. That first song we listened to, My Land, One of the lyrics in there is, "The voice ever calling me home to you." Spirit, I believe, is always calling us home to our instinctual selves, whether it's our innate divinity or a particular gift that we were born with. Something that only we know to do in a way that we will do it because of who we are. That's our instinct. And just like the Border Collie, we have an urge to fulfill that instinct, to act according to that instinct, no matter what else is going on. Unlike the rest of nature, we have free will. So we get to listen or not listen. We get to not push when we hear push. We get to not come away when the voice says, "Come away." We get to just sit where we are when Spirit says, "Push, go. Do this. Don't do this. Say this, say that." Ignore what's first coming into your mind. And do what I'm calling you home to do. Border Collies are happiest when they're hurting. We are happiest when we are living by our instinct. When I let go of what I thought I wanted to do and started paying attention every day to what Spirit was calling me to do, I became much happier. In fact, now that I'm in that phase of life, I have never known this much happiness, this much ease, this much fortitude, and our word for the day, this much bravery or courage. Because my instincts are calling me to things I probably would not have done if I just relied on my personality. My personality usually wants to curl up with a good book, or watch a movie, take a nap, or sit quietly somewhere in the back of the room and not contribute to a conversation. Especially my introverted self, when she kicks in, she likes to hide away in the corner somewhere. I can be very happy there for a long time. But I feel now that Spirit calls me out more often to share, to speak, to be something I probably don't feel like doing or being. But as soon as I step into it, I know that that is my instinct calling me. Because as soon as I step into it, there's a peace and a happiness that I didn't know when I was resisting. When I was doing something contrary to the call. Bravery, as we've talked about before, is not always about running into burning buildings to save lives. Sometimes it is only about stepping more fully into who we are called to be. That's perhaps the bravest thing you can do, is to be fully yourself in every circumstance. To follow your instinct, to follow the calling, to do something that feels a little bit uncomfortable. One of my favorite books is T.D. Jakes' instinct, the power to unleash your inborn drive. He says, leaving a cage for the opportunity to discover the freedom of your true identity requires not only leaving the safety behind bars, but also learning to harness the wilderness within. What is natural may not feel normal because your experiences don't match your inclinations. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it feels normal when you have never had an opportunity to explore the true essence of your instincts. Cages and wombs come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to be a dead-end job to be a cage. It can be renting as opposed to owning a home. For some, it is the desperate clinging to singleness for fear of the heart-racing perils of intimate partnership. Many would rather sit at a table for one than risk the awkwardness of bolting into the uncertainty of coupling. In that new cycle of circumstances, the cost of admission is the risk of rejection and abandonment. We all have cages of comfort that protect us, but also isolate us from discovering not only what lies outside, but also what lies within. A lot of us are not afraid of what's out here. We're afraid of what's in here. We're afraid of what's in here. We're afraid of what we're being called to. Instinct is always calling you. Just like birds who are looking for food during the winter, flying south, all the butterflies that get up at a certain time and just fly to Mexico. All of that's instinct, and we're no different. We just get to choose whether or not we follow, whether or not we move when the rancher says move. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever done is learn not to move when I don't hear something. Because I always think there should be something I should be doing right now. And now I know if there's nothing there, if I don't hear anything, if I don't have an impulse to move, to do, to speak, then I don't. And it can be uncomfortable when it feels like something's not moving in your life, when something's not progressing like you think it should. And you keep thinking, there's got to be something I can do to push this forward, to move it forward, make something else happen. Kickstart it. We think because there's no obvious message to do or be something, that something is wrong. And maybe what Spirit is saying is, wait. Wait here. Stand. Stand. Just be. Stay where you are. I know the bulls are still there. I know they're kicking. I know you think they're bigger and badder than you are. Just wait. I used to say that when God was giving out patience, I was nowhere near that line. I was on the other side of the room in activity or something. Because it was hard for me to wait. And I was one of those people that when I was waiting for something, I'd be sitting and tapping. The leg would be moving, the foot would be moving, fingers tapping something, turning something over. My mother said I would read a cereal box. If it meant I had something to do while I was waiting for something, I'd read anything. Because downtime, waiting time, was painful for me. Gotta be something to do. How can I make this time go faster? How can I make this period that I'm in go by faster? Because I don't want to be here. And it took decades for me to know that if I have no impulse to move, to push, that I don't. And that I just do what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what the crowd does. It doesn't matter what the other people in the room are doing. It doesn't matter what your coworkers are doing. What your friends are doing. What your family's doing. What people are talking about. If everybody else is upset, we don't have to be upset. If people are in a frenzy, we don't have to be in the frenzy. If everybody's chattering, walking around the room, looking for something to do, somebody to engage with, we don't have to do it. We can just be. A good friend of mine who was taking care of her husband, he had Alzheimer's. I remember her saying all the time, I can't wait for the day when I don't have to do something, be aware of something, be vigilant about something, care for somebody else, have to be somewhere. She was on such a schedule. And she just couldn't catch her breath sometimes. And then after her spouse passed, and she got through that grieving period, or the raw period in the beginning, and things started to kind of level out a bit, and she realized that she had some choices, and now she had some openness, some space in her life to just be. All I heard her say was, I gotta find something to do. There's gotta be something to do right here, right now. And I said, you've been waiting for several years now for time to be. Just be. Just be at home. Be quiet. Enjoy just having to take care of yourself. Do something that nurtures yourself. Take a nap. Go for a walk. She said, but there might be some work to do. Maybe I should find speaking engagements. Maybe I should find this or that, or some kind of organization to get involved with. She was so uncomfortable with space to be. And after I said it a few times, because she kept saying it, every time we got together, gotta be something, gotta be something. I said, maybe there's nothing. Maybe right now the gift that you get to have is space and time to just while it away. Do you know how many people just want to sit still for a minute? And just be and let your thoughts do what they want to do. And finally, after about the 5th or 6th time of me saying it, she said, oh, maybe I could just learn to be at home and enjoy that. Or do something on a whim. For years, she could not do anything on a whim. Couldn't pick up and go to a movie at the last minute. She couldn't be spontaneous. I said, what if you didn't have all your days planned out? For feeding and cleaning and calling and doctor's appointments. What if you just enjoyed life right here, right now? Sit and look out the window. Go for a drive with no intended destination. The wait, the sitting, the being sometimes is the hardest thing to do. But when we learn to enjoy the space that Spirit always gives us, And I think we can enjoy this life, this existence that we sometimes characterize as having to herd cats or put all our ducks in a row. Or like the border collies herding bucking bulls. And we get to have a breather. We get to have space in our lives. Spirit calls us to quiet in just the moments when you need it. And you're frenetically looking for something else to do. Or wondering why your appointment was canceled. Why am I sitting in traffic? And you could just be and enjoy and take a breath. So let's think about what cages we're putting ourselves in. What instincts are you ignoring? What are you being called to that you hear but you're not heeding? And where can you engage your courage, your bravery to follow that instinct even when it doesn't feel natural? The root of the word courage is heart. Heart. But so many times we run from our hearts. We run from what's right here. Perhaps it catches our breath. Perhaps it moves us to tears. Perhaps it makes us stop in our tracks. But for some reason, we run from it. So maybe we can be more like border collies in the video, ears peeled, listening for the rancher who's guiding us, who sees the bulls, who can see the entire ranch and everything beyond it, and where you fit into the process. And just trust. It takes courage to trust. And let go of your agenda or your plan. And move when Spirit says move. Wait when Spirit says wait. Push when Spirit says push. Come away when Spirit says come away. Let's take this in a meditation. Take a deep breath. Inhale, then exhale. Let's find that quiet place again. Quiet place where you feel the impulse, the instinctual call of your heart. Just be there. Know what it feels like. Know what it sounds like. Ears always peeled to the rancher's voice. Let's just be in the quiet. Continue to breathe. And let's listen in the silence together. Take a deep breath in together, slowly. Take it in, take it in, take it in. Fill in the lungs all the way. Hold it for a second. Now exhale together. One breath, one life. Exhale fully.